everyone, and welcome to another royal reading here at MadWorldTarot. And today we are looking at that thorny question of the return of the has-been to light royaling, because it's been dragged up again by Richard Eden again. He's been writing about it in the Daily Mail, and he's been banging on about it on Palace Confidential as well, which is their YouTube channel. So very recently, in the past few days, he has been motivating basically for the return of Harry and Meghan to royal duties. Mind-boggling. But we're going to have a look at it because he's basing this theory on two things. And the first thing is Tina Brown's theory, her own theory about the door opening to Harry's return if the gatekeeper is removed. And the gatekeeper, according to Tina Brown, is the Wasp. That is Sir Clive Alderton. And he has long been in the employ of the then Prince of Wales, the now King Charles. He's King Charles' private secretary. There is no love lost between him and Harry. And according to Tina Brown, Clive Alderton is the one that's blocking Harry from access to the king. And if Clive Alderton retires, as allegedly he is considering doing, then that would open the door to Harry getting his security back and also some limited royal duties. This is quoting Tina Brown, and this is all also described as a potential face saver for Meghan Markle. If all these things are sorted out, then she could insert herself back into the royal drama as well. Doesn't that just make you feel quite sick? Makes me feel quite sick. Now, Sir Clive Alderton, as I say, has worked for a very long time for King Charles, and it took some time off briefly in 2012 to serve as the ambassador to Morocco, which made my spidey senses go, because there was that very strange trip to Morocco where Meghan wore that kaftani sort of thing that many people thought she had earmarked for the Oscars, and she was about 13 months pregnant at the time, and apparently fighting all the way, didn't want to, had to get stuffed on the plane delayed. It was one of those weird things that people wondered about. They delivered a package to the King of Morocco from the late Queen. It was all very, Anyway, we're not looking at that now. We're looking at Sir Clive Alderton and his relationship with the has-been, and whether he really is the gatekeeper that Tina Brown thinks he is, or whether, as Rebecca English said on Palace Confidential, the private secretary is most likely to represent the king's views and wouldn't be making up his own style of serving the king. He would be actually just implementing what the king wanted. It seems quite plausible. So, New Palladini Tarot on the tarot table, and we're going to have a look at the relationship between the Wasp and the has-been. Harry's very rude about Sir Clive, in despair, had only nasty things to say about him, weedy, arrogant. You thought that he was insignificant and innocuous, but then suddenly the sting would come when you least expected it. Really horrible things, really churlish and ugly things to say. And of course, Sir Clive couldn't exactly clap back and write his own book about despair, could he? Maybe he's going to retire to the south of France and take up writing as a pastime. That would be interesting if he decided to do that. I hadn't thought of that. Anyway, enough chatter. What's it cards? New Palladini Tarot on the tarot table. Sort of royally cards. And we are going to see what's going on. Mutual feelings. And then I'm going to look at gatekeeping. Is he the gatekeeper of his own initiative, or is he acting on the instructions of the king? Don't let has-been phone, don't let him in the door, take me away to Romania if he comes anywhere near, all that sort of thing. Is he pondering retiring? Apparently his kids are grown up, finished college or at college or whatever they're doing, and maybe it's time for a change. And then we're going to ask if he does go, what are the implications for the has-been? With that open doors, are we due for the return of Harry and Meghan? She's not being left out of this, interestingly. Of course, she's a desperate woman. And anyway, where are we? Shuffling. I can see someone's trying to phone me. Luckily, I've learned to mute my phone before I start these readings. So if the phone starts ringing, I don't have to rush away and try and switch it off as I used to when I first started. Anyway, here we go, and let's see what's going on. Let's remind you, it's just tarot for fun and entertainment. It is all my opinion. It is all speculation, and I just read energy here, and there is of course a disclaimer in the box below. Let's see what's going on with Sir Clive Alderton and the has-been. Urgent necessity for the has-been to return to the royal fold, possibly while the king is still the king. That is what everyone thinks. It makes a lot of sense to me. And I put this away before I picked off the underlying energy card, which is the Four of Rods, as you can see, which is the royal family card, happy families card. It's home, essentially. Happy home. There's the castle. There is a path to it. It's celebrations. It's the return of the prodigal. You could even say the royal family is very much about, you see how open that access is to that castle there. If the gatekeeper, if the Wasp is removed from the equation. So it's a pretty obvious underlying energy. Not much I need to say about it. It's one of these obvious readings, perhaps. Let's see what's going on. Situation we are dealing with. We're dealing with the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. That, of course, is the late Queen, and her absence, which maybe is being felt in this situation. The deal that was made when she was around, really, that was the Sandringham Summit, the agreement that was there is no half in, half out. You're out. You get a year to think about it. You can come crawling back after a year if you want to, but of course they didn't, because they'd made all those deals by then. And Spare was well underway, and the Netflix documentary and has-been was going to be a billionaire at the expense of his family. That's my personal opinion. But it's in reverse. She's not around, and maybe there's a sense that this deal is there such a word as renegotiable? That's what's coming through there anyway. Time to re-examine the situation and find a way to sneak him back, getting the vision of him in the back of a car, even a car boot covered with a blanket, and her as well being smuggled back in to the royal fold. While eggs are being pelted at car windows, perhaps. That's just a mental image I've got, and it's my own energy that I'm reading there. Let's look at the cards and let's see what's going on. First of all, Sir Clive's view of the has-been. What does he think about Harry? If he thinks, oh, Ace of Swords, wow, okay, not good. Not good. Would like to cut him out. It's brought the crown into disrepute, because the crown that's held aloft with that sword of truth, that's Excalibur, is in reverse. He has brought the crown, the institution, into great disrepute through the things he has said, he has written, on and on ad nauseam, all the legal proceedings as well. It's the card of truth and justice, very declaratory, very much announcing yourself and your intentions. It's in reverse. Doesn't like him, doesn't trust him, doesn't think he's honest, doesn't think he's very intelligent, forked tongue kind of a vibe coming through from that card. For me, I'm just reading energy, and this is all allegedly, and of course Sir Clive Alderton could think that has-been is a pillar of the establishment, an absolute truth teller, and a man of honor and integrity. But with the Ace of Swords in reverse, that's not how I'm personally interpreting the energy, and of course just my opinion. Harry's feelings about the Wasp. What does he think about the Wasp? 10 of Cups. That's a curious, very curious energy, because there's a path in that rainbow, a bridge in that rainbow, and the bridge is to there. It's the same castle. And it's as if the bridge is through him to the castle. So I think that Harry sincerely believes that the obstacle to his return to the fold is Sir Clive, which makes me think that all of this is coming from Harry and not coming from palace sources, that old Tina has, is shilling for the Parkles, possibly. That we've looked at that recently. That's a possible explanation. We can speculate, and we can turn on the allegedly light and start it flashing across these cards. But there is the ultimate goal, happy ever after, comfort and security of home, back in the bosom of the family, safe behind those castle walls. Don't have to worry about paying the mortgage, shilling for Better Up and all the rest of it. You are having a fire sale for Black Friday. And so interesting energy. That's much worse. The Ace of Swords, Sir Clive Alderton really energetically, for me as a reader, thinks the worst things he could possibly think of the has-been. So let's look at gatekeeping. Gatekeeping, first of all, from Sir Clive personally. How does he feel about keeping Harry away? Is this something that he personally thinks is a good idea? Not answering phone calls, not passing the phone. King of Cups. That's protecting the king. The king is the King of Cups. Of course, water sign, emotional, likely to be manipulated emotionally, wants to keep him on an even keel, doesn't want to upset him. So he's serving, he's protecting the person that he is employed to look after, his private secretary. Very important. And we all got sidetracked with that vision of manliness in a kilt, who is no longer in the public eye, unfortunately, Johnny. But got a bit distracted there. Okay, need to focus. But of course we have a private secretary who is working very hard to protect the king, keep him mentally, emotionally on an even keel. Particularly important while the king is compromised health-wise and trying to heal and trying to adapt to new circumstances, actually being the king, having waited many, many, many years to get there. So this is not his clever idea. Let's put it like that. This is what he perceives as his duty to serve and to keep this whole ship on an even keel. This King of Cups, who is quite emotional, quite easily swayed, quite difficult, all of that. Okay, that's my opinion. What about the king? Is he complying with the king's own view? Don't want to talk to the has-been. We've looked at this in the context of the court cases, where it's very difficult for the king to be alone with Harry because he could be compromised, could get him into legal jeopardy, constitutional jeopardy if he, well, doesn't even say something, but Harry represents to the court that the king has said something, and that's about the security case in particular. So is this coming from the king? Keep him away. I don't want to talk to him on the phone. I don't want to see him. I don't want him to put pressure on me because I cannot decree that he gets security, all that stuff. What's the king's view about this? I've got the King of Pentacles. Absolutely. I need to be king. So we've got two kings there. The king is in the king energy here. He's not in father energy. He's not in, oh, has been, if only I could reach out to you and talk to you, and nasty Sir Clive, it's keeping me away from you. This is the king being stern, being unshakable, King of Pentacles. A very steady energy. It's earth energy. It's grounded, it's solid, it's firm. I've decided something. The King of Pentacles can veer into quite obstinate territory. Think of any Taurus that you've ever known. And then you get an idea of where that King of Pentacles is coming from. So I don't think that Sir Clive is making this up, and I don't think Sir Clive is the immovable object. There is an immovable object. But let's have a look at this retirement story. Is he, at the ripe old age of 57, pondering next moves, thinking, I've served the royals enough? Basically his entire working career, and it's off to go and write my book in the south of France? Or is he there for the duration? Is he there for the long haul? What do the cards want to tell us? Have we got a change coming? We do have a change coming with the Hanged Man in reverse. The Hanged Man is someone who really, that's a very, very apt depiction of somebody who's an ambassador, a private secretary, somebody who has to spend his whole life making sure he doesn't really express any heretical notions, rock the boat, somebody who's got to be discreet, and somebody who's got to sacrifice their own needs and their own feelings and their own opinions for the greater good. But the card is in the reverse. He's been cut down from that tree where he's been hanging all these years and liberating himself, freeing himself to be his own agent, empowering himself. Very interesting. So Tina could be onto something with her revelation that he is considering retiring. That's interesting. So if he's out the door, don't know when, but it looks like it's possible. It looks like he's thinking about it. It's a thinking card, the Hanged Man. Thinking new thoughts, imagining your life being quite different. Hanged Man energy. Is this going to open doors to a return of the has-been? Bearing in mind that it looks like they're both, Sir Clive and the King, are quite on the same page with this whole thing that no, keep the has-been far, far away. Would it change things? Would it change things? I've got the Knight of Swords. That tells me that Harry would try something. Like he tried when he heard the news about the King's cancer diagnosis, and he flung himself on a plane and he flew to London and he charged to wherever it was, Clarence House, and demanded to see the King. He was about to be whisked away by helicopter. I think he'd just had chemo or whatever it is he's having. They've never said what the form of treatment is that he's having, and I was going away to Sandringham for the weekend. But there was the has-been banging at the door. I've got this Knight of Swords, same energy. He would be at it. He would be pounding at the door. He would suddenly show up because it's swift moving. It's almost reflexive energy without thought. It's impulse. Off he charges to demand his rights and insert himself back in the family without really thinking it through, thinking that now is his moment to act. Would it succeed? I've got two of these readings today with the same question as the outcome for both of them. So I want to get a consensus from these readings and then see if we really need to be concerned. If things are changing so quickly behind the doors at Buckingham Palace that we need to be on high alert for possible return of the has-been and herself while the King is still king. So outcome for Harry. Got the World. That's interesting, because it's potentially successful. Very, very. It ends something for him. It ends his period of being outcast. And now that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get him cutting ribbons and on the balcony and trooping the colour and Remembrance Day and all that stuff. But it does mean that some chapter in his life is drawn to a conclusion, and that would be maybe the 7 years of bad luck with her. I don't know, but it looks like it would be quite a potentially positive outcome for him, which doesn't fill me with glee, I have to say. It fills me with absolute dread. The World, and yeah, there's a female figure in that World card always. Not necessarily something to get particularly upset about or anxious about. But it looks like if there is a moment to seize the day, as they say, that's seizing the day, that Knight of Swords, it could be when there is this gap. So Altina is onto something here. If there is a gap at the top of the pile with the courtiers, then Harry might just try his luck and he might just insert himself back in while things are shaking out and rearranging themselves. It doesn't mean William's going to let him back in when it comes to William's turn to do all of these things, but it does mean that Harry might be back at some level in the royal fold if this all goes the way it looks like it might be going with that Hanged Man in reverse. So it looks like we're on the brink of the next phase in the Parkle story. I think the only real question in this one, I'm sure that Harry is trying very hard to get back in with the royals. It seems pretty obvious. The only question is she going to be tagging along or not? And we'll have to look at that again, but not today. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.